welcome to another Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, CaptainLogun, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today. So tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week, we're going to be covering the news from Xbox Showcase, developer updates, as well as updates coming on June 19th. There is a lot to get into. So without further ado, let's get into it. But before we get into any of that, I have to thank the patrons. They're the ones that are supporting this content. They helped take care of the bills, the lifts, the meals while I was out at SGF, and it makes a world of difference to have their support. Pirates, thank you so much to A-Chick, L-Cute, Balls, Blue Turtle V1, Captain Chonky, Captain Longsharts, Chateau Noof, Super Pack, Zombie Killer, Cosmic Johnson, Static Mirror, Davram TV, El Jefe Esteban, Godhammer 6, Carl Embo, Kylia the Aficionado, Nightstar 1980, Evil Morpheus, Space Admiral Ors, Xbox Mike 29, Norwegian, Rabid Raccoon, Regis Stella the Brony Pirate, Ribloid, Rustbelt Kid, Shoe Daddy 13, The Demon Jester, Tommy D, TN Professor, Vaporwave, Vibralux, Wailing Witch, Big Bad Pad, Mina Fairy, Heger Owl, Jeff H, Captain Duckweed, Evil Martha, Peter Miller, Rooski Doo, Thor Von Blitz, Luke Lore the Insipid Ghost, and Zam Wow. Thank you all so much for your support. It really does help. If you guys want to do so, you're more than welcome to jump over to patreon.com/Keelhauled podcast to show your thoughts and feelings on this. I was actually putting out a tweet recently, or not a tweet. It's a post about the latest feedback that I wanted for the interview. And thanks to you all for actually going over there and actually sharing your thoughts. I had a really good time kind of reading through the thoughts and feelings from the Mike Chapman interview. Helps me as an interviewer to understand, like, is the form good? Are there things that you wanted to know more? Were those things that I could have done better? So I really do appreciate that. I think I had recently read that, let's see, I think it was it? I just had it. Evil Morpheus. Here it is. I wanted to know more that the storylines there that have been set will continue and come to some conclusion, like the Dark Brethren storyline. There are a few different storylines in Sea of Thieves world, and I feel that one has been left in the corner and forgotten about. I would also like some kind of roadmap like they've done in the past. Not anything detailed, just a rough draft. Their podcast is very hit or miss for information and consistency. There almost been 1 year break between podcasts. I don't mind if they are wanting to surprise the community with some big surprise, but some information about future plans would be nice from time to time. And I agree with that. I think that's really good. I think I do actually cover that in this episode as well. But I did appreciate hearing from those that were actually willing to like take some time to actually share some thoughts on that. I think we also had, let me take a look. Static Mirror, Wailing Witch, Jeff H, some community members that you hear on the regular through this, sharing their thoughts and feelings on this. Overall, from the patron, the 7 that voted said that 71% of you said that you got your questions answered. 29% said that they didn't get the news that they were hoping for. So as always with these, I want to try and get as many questions in there as possible. And I do appreciate this kind of feedback because it helps let me know if I did well or if I didn't do well. I'm going to try and make sure that I do better. So next time I get an interview with a developer, I want to make sure that I get the questions sorted, kind of put together, and then see if I can stay on top of them to make sure that I get the answers that you guys are looking for. So I do appreciate that. I will always try to be respectful in as many ways as I possibly can for the actual developer who's trying to give information but not give away everything, right? But I would like to have a roadmap. I think it would be good. I do actually remember talking about that. It's later in the episode though. So with that, let's get into it. First First on today's docket, let's talk about the Xbox Showcase. I was at the Fan Fest that was not the official Fan Fest, but a Fan Fest made by the fans for the fans over at LA downtown. It was a very interesting weekend as we were going there for Summer Games Fest. I got to play a ton of games. I got to watch the Summer Games Fest like live in the theater, where it was way louder than I actually anticipated, and I completely forgot I had a pair of headphones that were, or not headphones, but earplugs in my pocket during that time, because believe it or not, when I got to my hotel in downtown LA, there was 2 sets of earplugs in little usable bags and stuff on my nightstand. When I got in, I thought, that's interesting. I'm kind of surprised that they would put earplugs, but I guess they anticipate there being a lot of noise. As a heavy sleeper, I'm not too worried about that, so I was like, I'll just hang on to these. Can't let the tinnitus get any worse than it already is, right? So brought those, completely forgot about it. But besides that, I got to do a lot. It was a fantastic weekend, and we got a ton of news. And one thing that really sticks out, I think, for a lot of folks, was the Sea of Thieves showcase that they had, the trailer for Season 17. Now, Drew has come out and talked about this on the developer update, basically saying that expectations were high as there was a lot of conversation leading up to the event. But I gotta say, as a fan of Sea of Thieves, as someone who's seen past updates for this, we've had Captaincy, we have a Pirate's Life, we've had numerous different updates from Rare, and usually there is something big in the summertime. That's usually when something big drops. That was not the case this time. We got a teaser for Season 17, given that we're only a few weeks into Season 16 at this moment. So I'm kind of surprised that there isn't something big coming. We are just going to be keeping on the same seasons. And this kind of sets the precedent, saying like, hey, for future showcases, don't necessarily get your hopes up. There's no Pirate's Life 2. There's no One Piece. There's no Flame Heart story that's being unraveled. There's no reintroduction of oh gosh, what are they called? The not the Bilge Rats, the Dark Brethren. There we go. I got there. So make sure that you are keeping your expectations tempered. Something I think would have probably done well from the communications team ahead of time, because honestly, like, I released the episode with the interview with Mike Chapman, which, shout out to everyone that responded, let me know that they appreciated it. I did put out a poll on the Patreon just to kind of find out, like, do you feel like your questions got answered? And a lot of folks responded, let me know, like, there was a lot of information that was shared, but nothing that was solid. Which I kudos to Mike for being able to talk around questions that he can't answer, because I think that some of the questions directly asking certain things, he very well could have said, I can't really talk about that. But he tries his best, because there's always stuff that they want to do as far as like the surprise and delight. And I think that looking now at that kind of mentality and seeing what's going on with Sea of Thieves for the Xbox Showcase, Season 17 was quite the surprise, but not necessarily something that delighted folks. I think a lot of folks are a lot more invested in particular plot lines that Sea of Thieves has had running for quite a while, and would love to have kind of that pushing forward, having the Dark Brethren return into a storyline, having more information about why Flameheart is digging up the Widow's entrapped sarcophagus, why we're resurrecting the Order of Bone and Blade. Why are there hints about the GMU going around? All these things that, for all intents and purposes, would be fantastic additions to Sea of Thieves, driving the narrative forward for the characters and for the people that we love in the game, that we want to continue seeing their story, seeing their relevance, right? Having an introduction of the Smugglers League, a new faction, feels odd, because I feel like we have enough to get us around in Sea of Thieves. I feel like we already have kind of enough factions to be able to satiate people when getting to Pirate Legend, which is a very interesting mentality, because for all intents and purposes, the Smugglers League appears to be something akin to the Merchant Alliance, but a lot more theft in design. the idea of getting away with something that on face value doesn't look like anything important. So, when I think of smugglers, I think of like, the greatest smuggler of all, Han Solo, and how he used to smuggle stuff all the time, unless he was getting chased by an Imperial fleet ship, in which case he would drop his cargo and jump to light speed. But we're not going to get into that. So looking at smugglers, I think there's possibility here, but at no point do I think anyone was anticipating this. This was a new faction for everyone. I think we were thinking there's a good chance it'll probably become the Dark Brethren. They'll return. We'll get the introduction to them as a new combative faction to the Reapers that are not aligned with the Guardians of Athena, or, Athena's fortune. And not having that, this feels like another group unto themselves who've just appeared. They've gotten, they found their way to the Sea of Thieves, and may or may not be the kind of like impetus for the GMU. Like if smugglers were sent out to go smuggle stuff, they return, who knows what happens. But for all intents and purposes, Rare kind of came out and said like, hey, expectations were a little high. And to that, I have to say, yeah, we want high expectations. We have high desires for the content that's coming to the game, which is why when we see Smugglers League, we're a little confused, because there's so many other great plot lines. There's so many other great characters and ideas that have been presented to us over the years that have yet to be explored. And when you're going to do a trailer for the Xbox showcase, it needs to land somewhere in the neighborhood of where the other game announcements are going to be. You got Outer Worlds 2, you got Call of Duty Black Ops 7, you've got Clockwork Revolution, you've got Grounded 2, you've got brand new games coming out that are going to be like really interesting. Having Season 17 trailer and just showing like a little teaser about a new faction without actively saying that's a new faction, most people probably aren't going to understand why you're bringing pirating to a pirate game. So as much as I appreciate that they're saying like expectations were high, they should be. For Xbox Showcase, they ought to be. There should be something really cool, something we're looking forward to. With Captaincy, it brought in a whole new range of expanded decorations for our ship, tracking milestones, commendations. Like there was a ton that was brought in with guilds, with having your own ship, with having ship names, with being able to bring in stuff. Like there was a lot that came in with Captaincy. With A Pirate's Life, it was a whole suite of storyline and tall tales that were built from Disney's IP with Sea of Thieves. Like that's a high bar to hit. It's a very high bar to hit. So if that is where the bar was set and it just keeps going down and down and down, that doesn't feel like what Sea of Thieves fans want. We want it to go up, or at least hit what it was at its height. We understand it's going to be really hard to manage A Pirate's Life 2, given the state of the game, given like where we're at with seasons, how that's going to work. But there's going to have to be some proof in the pudding. Like the content is going to need to be justified if that's what you decided to show for the Xbox Showcase, because you didn't need to have something there. I was looking at the Elder Scrolls video that they put in for the trailer for Xbox Showcase, and I was like, wow, Elder Scrolls Online has been out for quite a while. I'm surprised they're just now getting to pets. Someone who has played Elder Scrolls leaned over and said, pets have been in the game for years. And I'm like, well, I don't know what the heck this was about. The only thing I can understand is that Elder Scrolls Online is a large part of Xbox as far as like their user base. There's a lot of monthly active users for Elder Scrolls Online, which is why it's consistently put into the trailers for Xbox Showcase as a reminder, hey, Elder Scrolls is still out there. Same thing with Fallout 76. Fallout 76 getting the Fusion update, which is bringing fishing to the game. It's a small thing. We've had it for a while, but that was their thing. But the expectation for Fallout 76 tends to be lower because they generally are just looping events. They're bringing in new stuff. They just most recently dropped ghouls as a playable race. So that was kind of their big thing. They're also, probably building up content that's going to tie into the Fallout series that's coming later in the year for that show. So I expect, smaller things, and I expect kind of the standard trailers for the games that we know, like, you've got Age of Mythologies, you've got Sea of Thieves, Fallout 76, Elder Scrolls Online. Every once in a while, they'll toss in a update for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Those are kind of the expected titles. Like every Xbox showcase for the last God knows how long has had these trailers in there because they are the staples. They are the comfort food for Game Pass. So it makes sense. But to say that expectations are high means that there is a desire and a drive from the community to have those high expectations. It means we have not had that kind of content for a while. If we were sated with Pirates Life 2 and they came out and said, hey, season 17 is going to be low key, we're just going to bring in a new faction, I think everyone would be like, well, that makes sense. You just got done giving us Pirates Life 2. So yeah, that's fair. I can understand that, but we haven't. We've been waiting for strong story to come in instead of, getting something like that. We're showing a new faction. We're not sure like why we have another faction coming in. We just got Hunter's Call and Reapers fleshed out. A lot of us are still working on that kind of stuff. So we're happy with that. So it's just one of those things where there's a misalignment between where I think the studio is expecting us to see what they're presenting as like a that is the expectation. Like we should only be expecting season 17 to be a furthering of the content delivery that they're doing. Now, they've also stated too that the season 17 is going to start a revamped approach to seasons, which partially concerns me because we've seen multiple revampings over the years of how content is delivered, but they're also introducing a new faction, showing that they've been able to expand on current factions. I'm curious to see how they plan on introducing a brand new faction to Sea of Thieves. The trouble for me is that looking at Smuggler's League, I see shipwrecks, I see going down for lost shipments, I see bigger kegs, delivering rum bottles, stealing guns and ammo crates. I'm hoping that there is something unique enough about the Smuggler's League, and we have a long time to wait. So I'm fully willing to just sit back and let them cook. But I have yet to see anything outside of what we currently do with merchants, running crates and kegs and stuff like that. That really kind of says like, what is it about this that is different from what we're doing with merchants or reapers? Because this feels like a fusion of the two. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do. I'm not going to have any expectations on this being anything spectacular. I will keep my expectations very low. This will probably be an update that will not impress me because I need to keep lower expectations. So I will be happy to be proven wrong. I will eat crow if this turns out to be a fantastic update and everyone's really excited about the Smuggler's League. But it's going to be something that I'm not going to expect to really wow me if that's what you wanted for us for this showcase. So one of the few times I'm going to sit there and say, I think Rare missed the mark on this, because I think that there should have been better expectations from within saying we need something good to justify being in the Xbox showcase. That being said, all the other games that were like the staples had very poor trailers as well, too. So, if we're looking at the games that are the continuous games that they always have the trailers in there for, the staples, all of them missed the mark. All of them were below expectations. I don't even know what Elder Scrolls was basically telling us. Age of Mythologies at least showed us like a bit of an expansion to what they're going to be doing. And Fallout 76 at least introduced a new mechanic for fishing that's a little more relaxed. But I mean, I have no clue what the heck Elder Scrolls was trying to tell me because I'm not inundated with that news, and the people that were didn't understand what it was either. So I'm going to reserve judgment for how good or bad the Smuggler's League is until we actually get season 17. But if I need to lower my expectations, that's disappointing coming from a fan because I had expectations at most to run into stuff that I thought would be cool. And so far, this feels less cool. All right, hold on. I just got to move the soapbox, put the soapbox over here so that way it's just kind of staying out of the way. I don't think I'm going to need that for the rest of this episode, so should be good on that. Next up, we got the Xbox showcase out of the way. We'll see how that goes. One thing I do want to say about the trailer, and this is an expectation that was met. Shelly made a reappearance. I haven't seen Shelly in a trailer in a long time, and I gotta say, it's nice. I'm glad that, I don't know who's in charge of the production team over there making the trailers, who plans that out, the storyboards, you know, who does the animating for it and stuff like that. But seeing Shelly the Crab there was just like oh yeah, it's still Sea of Thieves. That's cool. I like that. But besides that, we had a developer update where Drew, once he'd kind of told us what was going on with the Xbox showcase, talked about what's coming up later this month. And I think that this was something that felt better because it came in after the developer update, which for all intents and purposes, we got the news update, which was giving a bit of heads up on what's coming up on the next update. That's on the 19th, which is only about 4 days away, which is really scary because there's 2 days to two games that I have embargoes for, and I haven't gotten those videos done at all. So I'm very scared about how quickly that's coming up. But with the update, we found out that they're going to be doing fight nights, and starting on the 19th, going for a week. If you win 3 battles for either faction, you'll get a unique painting for your captaincy ship. I'm hoping that that's something that will unlock for pirates that have not earned captaincy and do decide to actually like dive for there. I don't know quite how that works, but hopefully they'll be able to earn it so that when they do get a captainship, it'll be unlocked for them. But that's a question that I actually don't know the answer to. You can get it for both, apparently. So, you know, should be able to get both. It would be interesting if they made you choose and actually do that, but that's not usually Rare's MO. So we'll have to see, like, for sure whether or not you can or can't. They've also decided that they're going to be changing some of the respawn rules for the Skull of Siren song, which I kind of appreciate because at present, the way that works is a little, it's good for the chasers. It's bad for the owner of the skull. But it is kind of weird that if you opt into the voyage and you attack someone who doesn't have the skull, you still spawn close next to that other ship. It's weird how some of that works. So I'm not quite sure what that all entails, but they are working to tweak the respawn rules. And they are also looking to boost, like improve the profanity filters as well too. One of the things for you PS5 players out there, who I count myself amongst once in a while when I do go out to play on console, if you're receiving strawberry beards, they're asking that you please raise a ticket for those, so that way they can help work through that strawberry beard error, as it is an issue that will require a little hands-on from the support team. Then they're also looking to work on people who are getting spam invites. They're trying to help mitigate that. And folks that are trying to get the mobile cannoneer trophy and commendation or achievement. So they're working to try and make sure that you get those as well. So just a little quick updates on those. Drew also went on to talk about May's update that went after the pack file changes and try to mitigate the people that are able to change the files of the game and actually augment stuff to give them the ability to do things in line with cheating and hacking. So one of the things that they noticed when going after this is that a large percentage of players who were changing their pack files, which will be reset to default, were changing the FOV from 90 to higher. I'm not sure like what the actual number is, but after discussing this, Rare has decided to rescind one of the statements that they've made in the past, where they've decided that the community feedback is enough to have them decide to work on the development part of this for changing the FOV slider. So instead, what they're going to be doing is they're going to be working on testing out all of the animations in the game. They want to ensure that all the animations look good from 90 to 110 FOV, which is effectively just the field of view if you're not too familiar. So instead of it being more narrow, they're going to open it up. If you go too far you start to run into issues where it looks like you're playing in a fishbowl. One of the other issues with this is that a lot of people are used to aiming cannons as well as guns at a 90 FOV. When you change that FOV, it also changes how your aiming works. So not at a core level, but where you mentally have that distance, that instinctual distance where you need to aim. If you bring out the field of view wider, the arc on cannons is going to need to be adjusted a little bit because of the change in your perspective. So there is most definitely going to be a 2 to 3 week time period after they put this update in, which is coming later in the year, where people are going to have to get used to it if you do that. What I would recommend is if you are going to change your FOV, start at 90, go up to 100. Get used to 100. If you feel comfortable, if it doesn't make you motion sickness, all that good stuff, then you're fine. Move up to 110. Because if you go straight from 90 to 110, there's a good chance that you're going to really start missing your shots. So ease your way into it. Just my advice. At the end of the day, they are still looking to do further improvements as the team is looking to shift and move towards different aspects of the game that need attention. Something I approve of and I think is great for the health of the game. I think they've already been doing a great job with this, and I'm very happy to see that they're continuing their investment and making sure that players have a strong, positive experience on Seas. Along with this update, we're going to be able to break open the Reaper chests. Based on the video, it looks like we're going to be able to get at least 6 skeletons with this. And it's nice that they're going to be able to offer the full reward, even if you've opened this. I think this is going to be really nice as far as being able to have like something on a fort to help you out when you are running solo. So part of the issue here is that Reaper chests by nature mark you on the map. And that doesn't necessarily mean that once you open them up, that they will be turned off when you have that Reaper's mark. So if you are running solo and have considered using this at a skeleton fort, or a sea fort, or a skeleton, or no, what do they call them? Skeleton camps? Yeah. Or even a treasury. It's going to be one of those situations where you are going to want to consider that this is going to show up on the map. So unless you're running Reaper and don't mind being marked on the map, you're probably going to use these for the commendations. And then I'd be curious to find out, like, if you happen to find one, are you going to take it with you, use it on something, and then eventually turn it in? So I would not be surprised to find like a few of these that have been opened up just hanging out on islands because people didn't realize after the update went live that they are still able to be turned in for the full reward. They're also bringing in more pillar locations, not Miller locations. That's a totally different thing. But they're bringing in more pillar locations for the Reaper's voyages. They noticed that there was a lot of overlap based on where these are. And since there's something that you can dive to, they wanted to ensure that they opened it up to more islands. As a result, should be a little bit easier to go after other Reapers who are trying to work on these voyages. And honestly, given that there's been a lot of people asking for them to lower the requirement for the commendation to turn in 50 skulls, I'm kind of glad that they are not actually changing this requirement, because once people get done with these commendations, there's a good chance that they are going to stop doing the voyages, which means it's going to be even harder for people who are still trying to steal their 15 to be able to get these done, because a lot of people tend to stop the content once they've got the stuff for it. Subsequently, I've actually noticed that there have been quite a few people doing skeleton camps and Athena voyages randomly. I don't know why that one was the thing that they wanted to do. But for all intents and purposes, it has been harder to find Reapers working on these. The hardcore have gotten their commendations, they've got their 50 done, and they've moved on to going back to doing other stuff. I've only seen like maybe 1 or 2 people working on the voyages in the last weekend, which has been, kind of a bummer. So especially with Fight Night coming up and being able to work on my skeleton curse, I'm going to be very desperate to go after people as a Reaper wearing my skeleton curse, who are also working on those Reaper voyages so that I can try and steal that skull. The caveat being that I need to actually wait for them to complete the voyage so they actually have the skull, so it still counts as being stolen. Something you can't finish for them. There's no way for you to actually finish that voyage for them. They have to open up the sarcophagus and actually take the skull for it to count as being stolen. Very, very hard to do running around as a Reaper. So not terribly hard, but still timing is the key factor there. Can they do it in a reasonable amount of time before they notice my boat? That kind of thing. One of the other things that they said was that the nerds that you can find on islands to dig up, the Order of Bone and Blade nerds, being able to find them on skeleton forts is now going to be possible. So it should be a little bit easier if you're doing solo stuff. If you didn't want to drag a Reaper's chest to the fort to use that. Although I still I really do feel like, I don't know how this works because we're going to have to wait for the patch notes this week to be able to like find out how many Reaper chests you can have, because you can find them. Like you can have multiple ones on a server. You just have to work on skeleton captain voyages to dig one up or find one of them emergently in the seas. But you can have multiple. And it does make me wonder, if you can have multiple, can the same crew have multiple open at the same time? I would love to see what 12 skeletons smacking an Ashen Lord on a FOF looks like. But we will have to wait and see if that's even a possibility. They are going to be improving the matchmaking in Hourglass as well. They're going to start opening this up to cross region, not just cross region, but also cross time zones. So they're opening up the stamps to make it so that there's fewer issues with longer wait times in Hourglass, which is an interesting kind of thing to think about, because generally I've seen this before, but the reason I see it is in MMO territories, like World of Warcraft, New World, any MMO that opens up, they generally have servers. And this is a loose correlation. I'm not saying this is a one-to-one same scenario here, but typically I have seen this in other games as well too, where you don't matchmake for a while because there's no one playing locally. And as a result, there's no one to match against. Or if there is, it's usually like just a couple crews. What they're going to be doing with this is opening it up to cross stamps and cross regions, which means that different time zones, different countries are slowly going to be opened up the longer that you're waiting, to make it less likely that you will not have a crew to fight. Hopefully this will do something for the game. If they're opening this up to cross region, I have concerns that the drive to play in Hourglass is waning. I myself never been a huge fan of it. I very much prefer adventure PvP. I think there's a lot more going on in adventure PvP that is just more entertaining. There's less stigma around using cursed cannonballs or, you know, tricks to get the upper hand in an Hourglass fight when you're playing an adventure, because in adventure, you can do whatever you want. You can do anything you want to your heart's desire, as long as it falls within the code of conduct and the terms of service, and you're not being a bad sportsman about the sink. Like it's all available to you. In Hourglass, there's a weird community stigma around not being able to use cursed cannonballs or certain things. And I'm like, if you got it, use it. Don't, your win is more important to you than their opinion of you. So as long as you're being a good person and not trying to be like a jerk about things, use whatever you want. They're going to call you names. They're going to call you, they're going to say things about your mom. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, if you win and they lose and it was because you used cursed cannonballs and they didn't, that's on them. They should have considered what they were doing when they jumped into Hourglass. It's not a fair fight. It's a fight to win. It doesn't have to be fair. You're given the most fairest circumstances, but that doesn't take into account defending. You can defend in Hourglass. Nobody does it, but you can do that. And that means that you have all of adventure to be able to use against other players who are diving to you. As a result, you don't know what you're getting into when you dive onto someone who is defending. They could have a bazillion kegs lined up ready, just a perfect distance away from where their ship is pointed, where you're going to spawn. And there's nothing in the rule book that says that you can't do that. So don't worry about the stigma. just get your curses, just be happy with it. But I will say that it is a little weird that they're opening this up to cross region now as opposed to beforehand. They're looking to make sure that the experience is good, which is nice because the further away you are from your opponent physically literally introduces latency between the two things. So the ping could be higher. There's more data that has to be transmitted over long periods of time. And that is there's a physics to that has to be taken into account. So we'll have to see how that goes. Hopefully it's not like terrible. It's already tough to sail with other people in regions that are further away. I know when I'm playing with people on just East Coast as a West Coast person, my ping is hovering somewhere between 90 to 120 average. When I'm playing with people over in the UK, it's usually about 150. In bad times when it spikes, it'll go up to 200. And that is just the nature of playing on the internet with people long distances away from you. Playing with someone in England, I'm going to deal with 150 ping. That's just, I have to account for that. I have to plan my combat around that, and recognize that it's not all going to register. So with them opening up the cross region, glad that you'll have shorter times. Not as happy if registration starts to become an issue, which it may. We'll have to wait and see. So reserving judgment on that as well too. I guess I was going to need this thing after. Okay. Well, then I got to get up. I got to raise the microphone now. It's the issue with soapboxes. People ask why you have one around. You tell them that you do podcasting. They still don't understand why you would get an antique soapbox, but it really is for these moments. Okay. I feel like I'm good now. All right. Pirate profiles next on the docket. Let's talk about pirate profiles. For those of you that don't know, Stephen Dillon, really good guy. Plays WoW. Love the dude to death. He's been at Rare forever. Got on to the Sea of Thieves news video to introduce pirate profiles. This is one of those things that I knew when I found out about this, that whoever the poor soul was that was going to have to announce this was going to be raked over the coals. Unfairly, because I feel like there was a little bit of misunderstanding about what this was. Because Mike came out and actually addressed this as well too, and I think that was kind of the issue, is that a lot of folks that thought pirate profiles were going to be in lieu of something else, or that wasn't what was actually communicated. But pirate profiles, for those of you that haven't heard, are going to be a paid way for you to be able to create a new pirate on the same account that you have right now. You don't lose your other pirate. You don't delete it. You are just purchasing the availability to create a new pirate on the same account. Why would you want to do this? Well, a lot of pirates out there, and even those that are working on like the hardcore to pirate legend thing that LD Silver came up with. At least I think that's the one he came up with that. So I've been told they are working towards getting pirate legend by only doing stolen loot. You cannot lose your ship, if I recall. And a lot of people don't want to, otherwise you have to delete your character. That's the kick. A lot of people don't want to lose their main pirate. They've got years of commendations and achievements and cosmetics that have been time limited that are all tied to that pirate. So when you go and you mess with that, it's like, I don't really want to participate, because if I lose, then I'd have to delete my pirate, and I don't want to put that up for risk because I've got so much time invested in it. So with a pirate profile, this alleviates that for those folks. It also helps people who want to have a different pirate, but don't want to lose their original pirate. Many of us have purchased, myself not necessarily in this case, but a lot of people have purchased the pirate appearance potion, which is there effectively to allow you to re-roll your pirate's look. You still retain all of the cosmetics, achievements, commendations, reputation, gold, everything that you've earned in the game, but your pirate's going to look different. So that for folks is there. You have the ability to change the way your pirate looks already in the Emporium if that's what you want to do. You do have to buy it, which is the caveat there. With the pirate profile, this is similar to that, but instead of keeping all the cosmetics that you have and changing your pirate's look, you're effectively creating a new pirate with the look that you want and starting from scratch. I roll alts in World of Warcraft almost on a regular basis when I'm playing. I like getting that experience of starting a character and working them up to max level, even if it's a class that I've already played, even if it's a class that I haven't played. I just like starting new alts. It's something to kind of like watch a bar go up. I used to play a game back in the 90s where you didn't actually play the game. In fact, I think it's even still available. I'm pretty sure I've talked about this, but it's a game called Progress Quest. And the whole idea is that you start the program and the program plays itself. Little bars fill up. When each bar fills up, it's either killing something, looting something, selling something, or leveling up something. You don't do anything. It just does itself. It's watching like how quickly a game installs or updates on your PC. You're just watching a bar fill. That kind of weird sense of satisfaction that a lot of PC gamers have is represented in alts or alternative characters for the layman. It's something I've been wanting for Sea of Thieves for a good long while. I've always wanted to do something where I can create another pirate. And I've got this kind of like taken care of with insiders from time to time, but insiders wipes on a regular basis and they don't let you grind. They just give you pirate legend. And then you have the ability to go access all the different areas to be able to test different features. It's not really set there for you to try and just level a new character. So I've always wanted to see like, what is it that you can do and how hard is it to get to pirate legend starting out with Safer Seas? How hard is it to get pirate legend in the state of Sea of Thieves now? I don't know those questions. I would have to talk to someone who started playing the game recently. And I'm not going to get another account because as at least with like playing on Sea of Thieves in PC, everything has got my Microsoft login all set up. I know the password, it's already set there. And if you try to change that, if you try to go to someone else's PC and enter in your login information, it is a hassle to log into Xbox on a PC from a different PC account. Unless you have a separate profile, which in some cases, not always something that people have set up on their personal computer. That's the whole point of a personal computer, right? So having a way that keeps me from having to buy another copy of the game or subscribe to Game Pass on another email address, log into that email address just to play that pirate. If I can alleviate that pain point, I will happily spend the $5 to $10 that I imagine this will probably be to open up another pirate slot on my profile, on my account, so that I can go through the leveling process. Because at the end of the day, I just want to level another pirate. I've already got max levels to a certain extent on my main pirate. I want to test things out. I want to see what the game is like from a unique perspective that I don't have anymore. Have I got everything maxed out on my main pirate? No, but I'm not focused on that. There's not like a short-term drive to do something like that. It's purely just wanting to have a new chance at hitting pirate legend and seeing what that feels like in today's state of the game. I'm very removed from that. And I want to get to a point where I understand how easy is it? How hard is it? How straightforward are things? Because feedback for the game is going to improve it for everyone that is jumping into the game at some point. And I imagine in the future, there will be another ecosystem that opens up for Sea of Thieves that will allow more players to come in that have never played it before. And being able to speak to that helps me make sure that I'm staying in touch with people that haven't been playing the game for a long period of time. As a content creator, it is very important from my perspective to make sure that I'm being inclusive with people who have just started the game versus been playing the game for multiple years, because everyone's going to have a different perspective and a different look at that. Do I like the fact that you get cosmetic? The only access to cosmetics you get is the stuff that you've purchased with real money. So Emporium and Plunder Pass items are going to be unlocked because you've spent money on those, which makes sense. Anything that you've bought with real money should be available regardless of which pirate you're on. But any cosmetics that you've earned with your pirate is not going to be transferable to the new pirate profile. And a lot of people think that that's a good thing. A lot of people think that that's a bad thing. I don't necessarily care one way or the other. I've earned them, whether they're on my main account or my separate account. That's two different things. I'm looking for an alt account just for the experience of being able to level up. And one of the things that I'm afraid of that would be something that I'd be concerned about whether or not this was going to cross over is something like the Shrouded Ghost. Having an account that earns access to the Shrouded Ghost, regardless of which pirate I'm on, would feel better for me picking a separate pirate as a profile to play as. The problem that you run into is that a lot of the conversation around the Shrouded Ghost, people have a sense, and this hasn't been confirmed by Rare anywhere that I've seen. If it has, please point to the source, show the receipts, that newer pirates have a better chance of running into the Shrouded Ghost as a result of them being lower on the RNG percentage chance of hitting a Shrouded Ghost. So I don't know if there's any truth to that. There's enough anecdotal evidence that people have agreed that that's generally how it works, but it would be really painful to have a different account or a different profile, whether it's something that you have on a different email address or even just a different pirate on the same email address, to get the Shrouded Ghost and not be able to have that credit count towards your other pirate. But from the perspective of Rare, they are effectively saying, this pirate is the pirate who's experiencing stuff in Sea of Thieves. This is their story. You cannot say like something here is that something they experienced. The caveat to that is they want to respect people's money invested in the game. They don't want people who've spent money to not get access to that content. Whereas with commendations, regular renown rewards, events, stuff like that, all of that is unique to the pirate that earned it. And that is something that they're trying to keep respectful of that. As far as I know, you still retain the same name from the account, which is all going to be very interesting because you do not have anonymity just because you have a different looking pirate. The goal of this is to play a different character with a different story, with a different background. The name is going to stay the same for the sake of being able to recognize people and not have like that sense of like, okay, well, if I want to go do something heinous, then I'm going to create another pirate on this account, go do whatever I want. They can earn that reputation for doing bad stuff. And then when I don't want to get caught, or if I get caught, or if I've gotten too much heat, I'll switch over to my other pirate, which is my main one that has the normal name and no one will know. So keeping the names the same, I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I'd love to get some feedback, but I'm sure everyone's going to have a different opinion on that as well too. So it's something that is going to be coming in August, which I think falls in line with the end of August, which will probably be the kickoff for season 17. And I'm curious to kind of see like how people approach this, because Rare has talked about the fact that this is not something that is going to be in lieu of loadouts or favorites. I think all of us in the community can agree that many of us have been wanting a loadout option for cosmetics. We like to play dress up. We like our clothing. We want to have different sets. We want to have favorites, and we want those things to be surfaced in a good way in the UI so that we can actually like get access to sets of cosmetics that we've put together. I have a character or a set of clothing that is closely aligned to Pendragon because my character does look like Pendragon with the right stuff. I would love to be able to save that as a loadout that says, when I go into my clothing chest and my vanity chest, I have a loadout that is saved called Pendragon. I click on that button, it equips the items that have been specified for that loadout. I put them on instantly. I can go in there instead of having to spend the 5 minutes digging around trying to find the right set pieces. I have waited for a long time for that to happen in game. I will continue to wait until it happens. And that is something that is going to be up to Rare to determine when that happens. Is that a widely requested feature? Yes. Much like something like Cannons of Rage. I think a lot of people weren't expecting that. I think a lot of people are having fun with it, but a lot of people have been asking for bow chasers for a long time. They've been wanting to be able to fire cannons forward and aft for a long time. Will they necessarily agree with the way that this was implemented? No, but it is something that rare or community members have been asking for a very, very long time. The first inkling that we would get something like this was back when Monkey Island Tall Tales came out, and we actually did sail a ship that had the bow chasers cannons on them. And a lot of people were like, this is fantastic. I can't wait for this to come to the game. It would be really nice. We also thought that this was going to be the case when we first started to notice that the ships were shifting the railing, and we had the little divot in the front bow of the ship. We all thought that was going to be cannon chasers. Turns out it was going to be harpoons. We actually really like harpoons. We think harpoons are, a good addition. We would also like to be able to have the opportunity to change out the harpoons for cannons. So it really just depends on who you talk to and how long they've been talking or how long they've been playing the game. Because a lot of features we've been asking for a very, very long time. And now that they're implemented, they're not implemented in the way that I think everyone was expecting, everyone that was anticipating them to be added, but they are still technically added. It's just how it changes. So when I look at loadouts, I think, yeah, we're probably going to get pirate profiles to be able to add alts to our account. It's not something that everyone's been asking for, but it is something that people have been asking for. If you don't believe me, go back and listen to some of my earlier episodes where I talk about wanting a little small pirate, like a short pirate, like, short king pirate, because it's in the art book and it's been in the art book since the beginning of the game. I would love to have a short pirate. Do I think that's fair necessarily when trying to like shoot at a pirate who's shorter, and bear in mind, like I'm thinking like Odd Job from GoldenEye. So if you're old enough to know GoldenEye from N64, Odd Job was a little OP because he was shorter than every other character. So his hitbox was shorter. You had to look down to do slappers only. I would love a pirate like that. Is it fair? No. Am I going to get it? Probably not. But at this point, it was always something that I was like, dude, that's funny. I love the idea of having a short pirate and not being able to forcing people to look down to slash at me and me being able to it's just, I love the idea. I think it's cool. I wish that the art book was something that was something that they would bring to the game, because I would absolutely roll that pirate. I'd even pay extra to have another pirate profile, to have a really tall pirate, one that's like probably a little too tall, and like you would have to actually crouch down to get into like bilges. And I know it's a dumb thing to ask, but it's one of those things where it would be funny. It would bring a good laugh. I like that. Same reason people have really skinny pirates or really large pirates. Like, it's just comedy at that point. So I'm always hopeful for that. I don't think I'm going to get it. I'm going to keep asking for it, but I don't know if that'll ever be a thing. So to see the online community, and a lot of it is online, talking about how they're like, this is not what we want. This is Rare is so tone deaf. They've completely out of touch with the community. In some instances, I'll say yes. In some instances, I'll say no. In some instances, I'll say, you haven't been around long enough to see us asking for this. And maybe the people that haven't been around as long may not have been paying attention to the folks that have been around for a long time saying like, yeah, it'd be cool if we had an extra pirate. I would love that, because I know I have. I'm sure the receipts are in the podcast. I don't know. I've been podcasting for 7 years. So there's 370 episodes of this podcast to go through and try and find those receipts. I'm not going to do it, but I know I've been asking for it. So it's not the wardrobe loadouts that I want. It's not the favoriting that I want, but that doesn't mean that that's not coming, because Mike Chapman's actually come out and stated on Twitter, said, hey, by the way, this isn't in lieu of loadouts. Yes, this is something that's coming now, because a lot of the time it's something that's just what's ready that they were able to work on and actually bring to the game. But for the time being, it's one of those things that we will get the loadouts eventually. It's not something that they're not doing. It's just not something they're doing right now. Is it something that a lot of people are asking for? Yeah, but that always changes. It's always a shift. And just because they say they're going to do something or not going to do something doesn't mean that that is the case forever. They used to say no NPC enemies in the game. That changed. Then they said no NPC pirates in the game. Then that changed. Lots of things will change over time. They said no change in FOV ever. Now that's changing. Given enough time, the game will evolve, the team will evolve, and we will evolve. All of our asks are going to be on a table, on a list that they have at the studio. They will take a look at that list every single time they kick up a new season team, and they decide, okay, season 19, we don't have any plans, but what are some of the highly asked features? What are some of the thoughts about story and features that we want to do? And where can we start to kind of kit bash together some of the ideas that are out there in the community, as well as what we want to do and how that lines up with season 18 and season 20. And they will kind of put together what their feature kit will look like. And hopefully it will include stuff from the community. If they've got a really good idea about something that they know people are going to love, let them have that. And that will be the culmination of season 19. That's how I imagine most of that works. Meetings, discussions, everything that we ask, always on the table, never taken off, just not necessarily pulled into the spotlight and said, okay, I think we're finally ready to start addressing loadouts. I think we're finally ready to start addressing favorites. Let's start working with the UI team and the engineering team and the design team to try and figure out how to make that possible. That will eventually come. But until then, what is ready is pirate profiles. You don't have to buy it. You don't have to engage with it. You don't even have to like it, but it is going to be something there for someone. Outside of that, we do have Twitch drops coming from the 20th through to the 27th. They will resemble the Twitch drops that we just had recently with the gold renown, the voyages probably, and unique rewards. It looks like in this case, they're going to be giving us purple pants, which, should go along with the purple hat we just recently got. So with that, pirates, I think that is going to cover everything else. As always, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, you're always welcome to reach out to me on social media. Just search for CaptainLogun or the Keelhauled Pod over on Twitch or Blue Sky. You can always send an email through caplogan@gmail.com. You've also got the Discord, probably the best way to go about that. So next episode, let me take a look here, actually look at the thing. Yeah, next episode is not going to be the Gold Hoarder one. The Gold Hoarder one is going to be recorded on Saturday 28th, as we do have the 30th, which is going to be the Monday for that month. So the last Gold Hoarder recording is going to be on the 28th after we actually get this update. So it should be nice to find out if people have gotten a chance to play it. Definitely make sure you have if we get into there, so that way you can speak to it and see if it's something that's worth talking about or not. But that's going to do it for this week's episode, pirates. Thank you. I love you. And I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves.